What is up, Lewis?
Hey, how's it going?
How's everything?
Miserable. I'm tired. I'm getting paid for it.
What's
And then tomorrow's my only day off. No, that's a lie. I don't get days off anymore. I'm just always working.
what do you mean? I thought you only work like Tuesday, Wednesday, and then that's about it.
No, I got stuck with somebody else's shit until they get over COVID.
Lower down your camera a little bit.
Lower down my camera.
Yeah.
Yeah.
What do you mean you got COVID?
No, I didn't. Why would I take somebody else's shifts if I was the one that got COVID?
Well, you're around that person, so you got the vid?
No, her dad had COVID and she's off until she can prove she no longer has COVID. So now I have all her days that she works, which was fine the first week, but then the second week hit and I would just want to die.
So you're feeling well though. You're not like sick or anything like that.
No, I'm perfectly fine. I'm unkillable. I have proved it in this last year. I cannot die. I'm not invincible. You can still beat the shit out of me, but I cannot die. I am the immortal Abe Lincoln.
I'm not gonna lie. You are some sort of like a new breed of cockroach.
I really am. To the point where, like, look what I'm doing right now. I feel nothing, dude. Like my existence is like an empty void. You know it's there, but is it?
Right.
You know, I'm like one of those like one of those like thought-provoking ideas. Like, if a tree falls in the middle of a forest and no one's around to hear it, did it really make a sound?
So it's like if there's a deadly virus in Hialeah, will Lewis die?
We'll never know. I'm sure we gotta try harder.
What's up, everybody? Welcome to a new episode of We Got Issues. Thank you for being here. I'll say it again. You could be anywhere in the world, but you're here with me and Lewis. I appreciate that.
No, you're just here with him. I'm just here because I just exist.
So today we have a very special guest. Jonboy Meyers is going to be joining us in the next few minutes in here. 7:30 Eastern Standard Time, 4:30 Western Standard Time, Pacific Standard Time. So he's gonna give us a little bit of input on what he's been up to during these times. A lot of things have changed since we last had him in the show. When we last had him in the show, we only had like 200 subscribers on our channel. We have about.
I'm very glad that has not changed.
We have about 2,000 now, and our views are gone up to as well. So we're gonna talk to Jonboy too as well. A lot of changes happened to him too as well. Last time that we had him in the show, as you guys might have known, that there was a variant that was out, a little known variant. I think it was called Berserker #1. He did the 1 out of 1,000. It was somewhat popular, wasn't it, Lewis? Like a little bit, I guess.
Man, my sword couldn't afford it even if I wanted to.
So he did a
no. Funny enough, we would have made all our money back.
Yeah. So that was out. So we're gonna talk about what he's been up to. His creator owned too, as well, as you guys know, Princess Dragon Killer. And then we're actually gonna get in.
Oh snap! I haven't talked about that in like
a while.
That was like a year and a half ago.
It was.
He mentioned it?
Well, no, he mentioned to us a few years when.
No, not a few years, like a year ago.
No. He mentioned to us about a couple of years ago when he was at the store for a signing, and then we talked about it too as well last year, and then we're gonna talk about it today and see what the progress is and where he's at. We're gonna talk about him. We're gonna talk about the NFTs as well, and then we're gonna talk about.
It was one of those things like we're kind of on the groundwork on it, and we don't want to talk about it because if it doesn't launch, it doesn't exist.
Well, we're gonna talk about what's been going on too as well. The convention season has fully started or been being planned. So we're going to talk about that too as well and see where he stands. But today, Lewis, let's talk about, before we have him in here, let's talk about Winter Soldier and Falcon and Winter Soldier. Have you been watching?
Yeah.
And?
I like it.
Really?
It's not a TV show, but it's a 6 hour long movie.
I mean, when I first
It's not a
saw it,
TV show.
so when I first saw it, I already knew the kind of feel that it's gonna have. It was gonna have like the Captain America Winter Soldier feel to it.
A
Uh,
little bit, yeah.
a little bit political charge too as well, but not too much.
Eh.
Episode 5. Did you watch episode 5?
Yes.
So the
They taught me everything I knew about ship repair, which is still nothing.
I know, right?
They taught me maybe painting,
So I will tell you this.
and they taught me lefty loosey, righty tighty.
So I will tell you this. This is what I got from episode 5. There is no straightforward timeline for the MCU currently right now.
For
Because
the stuff going on now.
okay, so this is the original plan for the MCU. Okay, Phase 4. It was supposed to start with Black Widow. After
Mhm.
Black Widow, it was supposed to be Falcon and the Winter Soldier. Then after that, it was supposed to be WandaVision and then Loki, right? But because of COVID, everything got pushed back, right? And everything got convoluted. So what ended up happening was WandaVision came first, and then all of a sudden, a Winter Soldier, Falcon and the Winter Soldier, and then it's going to be Black Widow, and then after that it would be Loki, or before that would be Loki. So now it's kind of all convoluted because the cameo that happened in episode 5 with what's her first name? I know it's something Louis
Do you
Dreyfus.
want to hear something interesting? I kind of
Well,
cared about timeline during phase 1.
uh-huh.
Cared about it more during phase 2.
Yeah.
Phase 3, I did
Mm.
not give two damns on which one came first because I was so like, I have so much content. Because at that point, I was like, who
Yeah.
gives a damn which one comes first?
Yeah.
And phase 4, I'm more like, I don't want to know what the timeline is anymore.
Yeah.
I just want to see content.
So this is what happened with the timeline. Louis Dreyfus character, her character is not supposed to appear until Black Widow. And then after
Mhm.
Black Widow was going to be Falcon and the Winter Soldier, right? So it was supposed to be all connected. She was supposed to be the connection to everyone, kind of like the way Nick Fury was, which makes sense because her character was actually part of Shields at one point, and then became part of how do you pronounce it? Janus, 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 something like that. I don't know. It was like she had her own. She has her own. Yeah, she has her own organization. It's supposed to be like a reverse Avengers. So a lot of people speculating that this is going to be like a Thunderbolt recruitment, which would somewhat make sense. But essentially, you're going to see her character throughout the MCU Phase 4.
So we might get Dark Avengers?
A lot of
Maybe?
people are not looking at Dark Avengers; they're looking at Thunderbolts. So they're gonna have like their own Suicide Squad kind of thing.
Yeah,
Right.
I can see that, but
Mhm. So-
did everyone forget the terrible story writing that is Thunderbolts?
Yeah, but the thing is that because there was a Suicide Squad, they have to actually match it somehow.
So that's to my eyes destined for failure.
Well,
for
we
the
don't
whole
know.
reason. Okay, Justice League,
What about it?
literally in response to Avengers.
Which one?
The first one. The first one was literally a response to
Which-
Avengers.
No, so Lewis. Okay, so Lewis, everything.
okay,
So everything that what has happened in Marvel so far was supposed to counter what DC has planned, not shown but planned. Remember, Avengers: Age of Ultron was fast forwarded. It was already at Josh Whedon. Josh Whedon. Josh Whedon. Josh
and
Whedon.
honestly was the least memorable of all the movies.
Okay, so Josh Whedon already admitted that Age of Ultron was fast forwarded because of the response to Man of Steel 2 that was supposed to be planned. They thought it was going to be what's his name? It was going to be Brainiac on Man of Steel 2, even though there wasn't any, right? They also admitted the Russo brothers.
Brainiac?
Yeah. So that was the rumor at the time. And then the Russo brothers also admitted that they fast forwarded the plan for Spider-Man
Hmm.
to do a cameo in the Winter Soldier in sorry, not the Winter Soldier. To what is that thing? Well, not the Winter Soldier. It was the other Avengers movie. Oh, when it's kind of not an Avengers movie. It was
I know what
Civil
you're
War.
talking. Yeah,
Civil War. So essentially, they fast forwarded Civil War and the plan for Spider-Man in response to what was going to happen with Batman versus Superman.
which is
They
funny because they could have done like 3 movies easily on just Civil War
yeah.
itself.
So the Avengers was the reason why there was an Avengers initiative after Iron Man is because DC was already planning a bigger universe with the Justice League, starting with, and this might sound kind of funny, starting with the Green Lantern. That was the original plan. Green Lantern was supposed to start it off, right?
I love the fact that all the responses have been to bad movies, or their response to themselves were to those were bad movies.
It was never like a planned thing.
Reactionaries, like, or at least plans based on reactions because somebody else is doing something else, has
Mhm.
always one either lowered the quality,
Right,
made bad content,
right.
or confusing content. None
Because
of
if
it has ever been good quality content
right,
out of reactionary.
because the thing was, if you look at it clearly, the MCU never really they never really branched off until about the not Civil War, until they presented with a new Thor, with the Thor movie. That's when the second one, Ragnarok. That's
Mm.
basically when they separated with DC, and then they're just like, we're not gonna counter anything DC does anymore because we the shit now. It's essentially
I
that
don't
was
know how I feel about Thor Ragnarok. It was very pretty. It was just it was just written really, it's not even written bad. It was just written really weird.
it was pretty.
It was very pretty. Tell me Thor Ragnarok wasn't pretty
I don't know what
visually.
I don't know what you mean pretty.
I mean, the
Like
visuals that they did there were really nice.
pretty.
There was just it's like it's nice to look at, but I don't want to hold a conversation with that person. You know what I
uh,
mean?
I mean, I
It
guess I don't know what you're trying to say,
it
but
was stupid.
I think you're just trying to say like, oh, it looks nice.
Oh, they look nice. Did
That's
you have a
about it.
conversation with them? Like one sentence, then I just walked away.
I mean, Jeff Goldblum was in it. That was actually something.
Jeff
So,
Goldblum was in Thor. Oh yeah,
Ragnar,
yeah.
what movie are you watching?
The Grandmaster.
Jesus, you have Disney Plus, don't you?
Yeah, I'm not gonna rewatch them all. No, screw you.
Really? I would
Mm.
rewatch them all. You know what I like?
I got no time.
Actually,
I'm like when I'm not here, I'm working, and
you know what
then the day
the,
after,
fu-
I'm working again.
the funny thing is, you know what I like rewatching in the MCU is the Winter Soldier. Just the fight scene in there, just amazing.
You know, never come to a comic book store because you're just gonna remember why you don't like hanging out in a comic book store.
Mhm.
Because the moment you bring up like I liked Winter Soldier, they're gonna get like 3 random dudes like saying like Winter Soldier was shit. And then you're gonna find 2 randos randomly next to you all of a sudden. You don't know these
uh-huh.
people. And it's like, no, it's not. It's great. You should listen to this guy. And then you're in some weird argument that you don't want to ever come back to again.
So, so have you been watching Invincible?
Yeah, I love it.
Amazon Prime? You have Amazon
Amazon
Prime?
Prime. I have Amazon. What?
You have Amazon Prime? I don't
Who
know.
the hell will not take Amazon Prime? It's 2-day goddamn shipping.
Well, you need credit card, and you don't have a credit card,
But my sister has credit card.
so it's your Amazon. It's your sister's Amazon Prime.
Yeah, my entire family uses my sister's Amazon Prime account. My mother, my father, my grandmother, everybody related to my brother-in-law, me,
Oh, so
everybody. So a
so
couple of my friends that always sometimes want to bandwagon off me use
right.
her Amazon Prime.
hmm What do
It's
you what do
it's
you
a
think of
family deal.
what do you think of Invincible?
It's really good.
Yeah.
Yeah, my problem with it is that I just don't. Netflix has taught me to just here's all the content, binge watch it. We're making like 14 things after your binge watch and
Uh-huh.
ready for your consumption.
Uh-huh.
Yeah, I don't want to wait anymore. It's really annoying.
I mean, it's pretty bloody. I'll tell you that
I mean,
much.
like
Which is great
I
because
think I've just because I just love just watching it. The last like 3 minutes of episode two, was it
right,
episode two? I just keep
right.
rewatching it. Don't know
Uh-huh.
why. I know it's fucked up, but man,
Uh I mean,
I just like this is what how cool Superman would be if he just gave no fucks anymore.
I think that a lot of people say that what's his name from the boys? The main
Homelander?
Yeah, Homelander. A lot of people think that Homelander is like a big dick, but you have no idea how much of a pain in the ass Omni-Man is. Like if
Uh,
you didn't read if you haven't read Invincible, Omni-Man is just a pain in the ass, like a big pain in the ass, man. So,
I'm keeping my opinions of Omni Man until I understand his motivations. And
uh-huh.
Homelander, like, dude, that dude has been through so much childhood trauma. He was essentially born to be a guinea pig.
Uh-huh.
Your entire life was made out to be a lie, and everybody expects you to be cool with it.
Right, right.
Think about it that way. So, like, I can't have emotions or real
Right.
emotions. I have to. My entire life is fake, and then the
Uh-huh.
only way I justify my existence is for everybody to love me. If everybody doesn't love me, I'll go on a massacre. He is a
Uh-huh.
diva waiting to happen
Uh-huh.
to the point where the actor's just wearing high heels just because it's fucking funny.
It's kind of creating a little bit of somewhat of a conflict too as well because Joe Rogan, I think not Joe Rogan.
Joe Rogan.
Seth Rogen, not Joe
You know,
Rogan.
I've stopped listening to Joe Rogan just because I don't want to go into Spotify.
So Seth Rogen is he's developing an Invincible live action. So it's kind of creating somewhat of a conflict. I think so. Cuz everyone's going to love the
What
anim the
animated series?
yeah, the animated series. Like I mean, like I love it.
What?
And then
Why don't he? Why doesn't he wait until the animated series is done and do the end of days?
well, I'm pretty sure that's what's going to happen.
Like he's gonna do the end, like the after Invincible, where it's like dealing with the big bads conflicts.
No, 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 no. What I'm saying is that I think that they're gonna wait until the series ends, the animation series ends, and then they're gonna make the live action. But what I'm saying is that people are gonna love the animation so much that when the live action hits, people are just gonna be like, yeah,
It's kind of like the Batman animated series effect, where like everybody remembers it fondly, even though
right,
it's one of the most well
right.
written Batman.
Well, let me put it this way: when the live action hits, are you gonna like the live action if there was a live action for Batman Beyond?
I really want to see their casting choices
Uh-huh.
because that entire movie has some of the most diverse group of characters. You'd have to find so many. Your cast would be so diverse.
Uh-huh.
That like, oh my god, it's either like it's gonna be a hit or a miss. You know what I mean? It's not gonna be okay movie. It's gonna be a great movie or it's gonna be
Uh-huh.
a terrible movie.
My concern is it's gonna be like Green Hornet again.
I
That's
don't
my
want. I really don't want to watch another Green Hornet movie.
that's just my
It,
main concern. It's gonna be a Green Hornet thing.
Green
And
Hornet was. You got to give it this. It was funny.
uh-huh.
It was so stupid for no reason.
Green Hornet, really?
Yeah, I thought it was really funny because I thought it was. What if we made a parody out of Green Hornet,
Uh-huh.
and that's what we got?
Right,
Like
right,
it
right.
wasn't a serious movie at all because I don't think anybody cared
I mean,
about.
I want to know who greenlit Green Hornet and be like, yeah, that's a good idea.
It
We'll go with
was,
your script.
but that was during the time where like superhero movies weren't worth a lot.
Uh-huh.
So of course they can got away with it, and they also chose a very chill, lesser known hero, Green
Right, right.
Hornet.
Right,
And
right.
the only people that really loved Green Hornet was South Korea, I believe.
Right.
No,
What?
no, not South Korea. China? Which fuck.
What movie are you watching, Lewis?
I watch a lot of weird shit. Okay.
Oh my god. Okay.
Happy birthday.
Jesus. Okay, this is what I'm gonna do. Before this thing goes off the rail, I'm gonna invite
Private chat.
I'm gonna invite Jonboy now before this this before this go crazy. Okay, I'm gonna invite Jonboy because you're just dragging everything. Hold on, I think
Do you want me to drag it until our main guest's here, or do you want me to just shut up and just say yes? Do you want a
Okay.
yes man, or do you want a controversial man?
I'm just gonna invite him. Okay, hold on. I'm gonna link. I'm gonna link
You're
him
no
in.
fun.
How are you doing today, sir?
Guys, what's up? What's going on, man?
I'm sorry I have to invite you really right now because Lewis is dragging everything down. He's going crazy.
Dragging down.
What's going on? Are we live? Is this going on right now?
We
This
are
is going
yes.
on right now. He just puts you on the spot and makes you feel awkward, vulnerable, kind of like reality TV.
Oh yeah. Well, that's ratings. You never know.
That's rating for you.
That's how is
He's gonna ask you a question, edit it, and make you look like an asshole by asking a different question.
I don't edit anything anymore, anyways. But how is everything with you today, sir?
Good. How are you guys doing, man? You guys fighting the good fight, staying healthy?
Yeah, fighting a good fight, staying healthy and whatnot. During this whole thing that's been going on, but a lot of things have changed since we last spoke to you too, as well.
Yeah, it's kind of crazy, right?
Yeah. It was pretty insane. Last time we spoke to you, we were still fine and everything was good. And now everything just went crazy with the whole pandemic thing, and for the better too as well for yourself and our channel grew too as well. You, on the other hand, 1 out of 1,000, sir. That's that's insane. Congratulations,
crazy, man. Oh, thanks.
Yeah,
man.
congratulations on that. So, what? First thing I want to ask is that did you know that it was going to be a 1 out of 1,000 variant? Like, did they talk to you about it, or
no? I had just signed an exclusive deal to do covers with Boom,
right?
And then like, hey, and I was like, oh, hey, can I do a cover for this Berserker thing? Like, oh, you want to do a cover? I was like, yeah. Like, well, yeah,
right.
I think we can do that. So I did one, and they loved it.
Right.
And from what I remember, I think for all those covers that were done, I think Keanu and some of the Boom staff got to pick what they thought the 1 in 1,000 cover should be, and they all landed on mine, which was very, very humbling, very cool. So it's like,
so was there like a thought process there? They're like, oh, we were thinking about your cover being a special cover, like a scale
I didn't
cover.
even know. Like somebody messaged me and said, hey, can I buy the 1 in 100 covers from you? I'm like, on Instagram. I'm like, what? I was like, what are you talking about? Like, oh, this. And they're like showing an image. I was like, what is this? And
you didn't even know it was a 1 out of 1,000.
You didn't even get to know that you were at the top of the pyramid until somebody else figured it out and then told you.
Right. Yeah. I found out like on Instagram, that I went over to Facebook because Ross Ritchie and Boom Studios tagged me in their press release. So I was just like, oh, wow, this is great. I was like, oh, cool. And I was reading my contract. I'm like, great. I was like, I get 10 of these. I was like, sweet. I was like, yes. So
did they tell you like right after? It's like, oh, you probably heard by now. Your thing is 1 out of 1,000.
Yeah. They reached out like, hey, you probably heard like, hey, congratulations. Like, hey, really love this cover. We all love the cover, and we think people are going to respond really well to it, which they have, which is great. So
it was everywhere. It was like wildfire. Like all of a sudden, because what ended up happening was they had so much cover. So when I did my exclusive variant, they told me that they've never seen a cover, variants this much ever. I'm like, what do you mean? And they said that, well, variants goes from like cover A, cover B, cover C, cover D. And then they go, this one goes up to cover AZ. So I'm like, AZ? They're like, yeah. So essentially, once you get to Z, you go AZ and then BZ and everything.
You're saying it's over 52 covers, plus it's in its fourth print.
And it's a 4th print. So it's like,
it'll probably go even more too. So it's going
to go into 5th print. I checked 2 days ago, and 4th print is sold out.
Wow.
Really?
I've been keeping track of this. I can't even get, like, by the time the 4th print comes out, it was sold out. I couldn't even get any.
I bought the 2nd print because it's the Ron Garney foil print, and I love
all the 2nd and onward prints have been foil.
I will tell you a secret on that though, because so when I was doing pre-orders, and I usually post it online, I'm like, hey, we have pre-orders, these are the bundles and all that stuff, and then I got a message on Instagram. They're like, oh, are you doing pre-orders for my variant cover too as well? I'm like, your variant cover? It's like, yeah, they're gonna release it pretty soon. I was like, is it now? I was like, no, not yet. And it was Ron Gurney. He messaged me. He's like, oh, I'm doing a variant cover. I'm like, you are? And this is like way before before they announced the 2nd printing.
That's when you hook it up to where you buy a bunch and then you have Ron sign it and then you sell them. You know what I mean? You're like, oh my god.
So I didn't tell anybody that there was going to be a 2nd print because the 1st print is still running.
Well,
it's still
originally,
being
like, we talked about me doing one for you. You're like, yeah, when did you do? I'm like, dude, I'm already working on one. You're like, come on.
Yeah. But
it was great though. It turned out nice. So
it turned out really nice too as well. But because I know that for the most part, when publishers hire artists to do a variant cover, they never really tell you guys on what issue it's going to be or if it's going to be
really.
Right?
Very, very often they don't. They just like, whatever. Like,
we'll
find out when everyone else finds out. So, I mean, I get it. It's their product. So, like, we're kind of in and out. We're for hire or whatever.
Right.
So.
And the good thing is that your copies, you put it on for auction too as well, right?
Yeah, I took out of the 10 that I got, which was really nice because they told me, like Bryce over there, the editor there, told me like, said, hey, look, man, these 10 you're getting are actually a lot rarer than the Keanu ones. They said, because we only did X amount of Keanu ones, and I thought it was around 690, but I guess it's lower than that. I think it's lower than 500. So, they said, well, your 10 are actually rarer because there are no unsigned copies out there. So he goes, you don't have to sign your copies, but if you sign your copies, your 10 would be the rarest because signed X amount and you're only signing 10. So I was like, oh, cool. I said, well, this is a really good opportunity because I know with COVID, a lot of charitable stuff that I support and I believe in was hurting for fun. So I was like, well, this is probably a pretty good time to kind of do a little charity thing. So I ponied up 4 of those, just raw, signed that I would send to CGC for the winners, which I have. And I think we raised about between 4 things, about $9,000, a little under $9,500 for charity.
Wow, nice. So, what was the charity's name?
Let's see. We had Hero Initiative, which goes to helping comics talent in need. Stop AAPI Hate, which goes to help fund and protect Asian Americans and Pacific Islanders from violence and racism, discrimination, things like that. We have Stop Families Free of Domestic Violence, which is the domestic violence organization that helps families affected by I guess with COVID, there's been a spike in violence issues and families being broken apart. So, and then Save the Children, which I think this one specifically goes to their child trafficking stuff because that's actually on the rise too, which is pretty shocking. So.
Did you put all of them in auction or just like a couple of them?
Are just four, and then 2 I am giving to a buddy of mine. And then so that leaves me with how many, right? So that leaves me with 4. So
are you planning on actually getting like all the Berserker team kind of like signing it?
I don't have that kind of swag to do that. So like, I mean, to do that logistically would be kind of a nightmare because then you have to send that book to everyone. It just and then give them the paperwork to keep the chain and like what's the score and
keep the
I
chain
think if I did
going.
it just for myself as a fan, then I would probably do that. But like the intent is if I get all the signatures, it'll probably be somewhere down the line to sell it. And in my mind, I couldn't ask people I know or just casually know that to do that, even if I paid them because it's like, because
I figured you would keep one and then have like everyone sign it and then send it off to CGC, and that's gonna be like one massive auction that someone's gonna purchase.
No, I did send my remaining copies to CGC, so those are getting graded now. So hopefully I'll come back 9.8s. That'll go along with my Keanu signed one, and then I think I've talked to CGC about going down and doing a exclusive signing down there where I can crack open my copy and
Right.
sign it to be
And
mine.
then get signed, yeah.
But I think I can open it up to everybody who wants
Right.
that. Now they can send their books in, and maybe it'd be kind of cool. But I'd probably charge a premium to do that way.
You're right.
Because it's important for those people who have already gotten those books
Right.
to keep the value and premium high. Because if I just sign everyone's books at kind of like a cheap rate,
Right.
it's kind of like, well, it doesn't really hold the value. So I think the idea would be to charge a premium rate. So only a handful of those get signed. So
Right.
everyone's base rate who got those books, CGC, the raw
Right.
values will hold their value. CGC books will hold their value. And then the double signatures, the minor candles will hold their value. So
You can also limit the amount of signings you do to do the same kind of mechanic into that too as well.
I think I'd only just do it once. So that would be it.
Right.
Just
you
once.
know, it would be nice, like if there
Hey,
was.
what's up, John? What's up?
Hey, look at
Hey,
that. I think it would be if conventions were a little bit more safer. I think it would be awesome that just randomly like Keanu's there and be like sign my book kind of thing, and and like
I've never
Ron
seen
Jeremy's
Keanu
there.
in a convention.
Well, he has
I
a
think
reason now.
He's done stuff to promote stuff. So
If it's not anything for charity, I don't think he even it tries to exist in our world.
Well, I think that this is his book that he's co-writing with Matt Kint. So it would make sense at some point down the line they would probably do that. I think the idea, though, would be if that were to happen, it'd be a really good idea to do something that a portion of the proceeds go to a charity or Keanu's hospital stuff that he does for kids or something like that.
Yeah, it's funny you mentioned the hospital thing that he does because I've heard or I've read somewhere that he would donate like his income yearly on random children's hospitals and whatnot. So I actually asked my wife about it. I'm like, there's someone because they have like a wall of people who donated.
I think he does it anonymously though. I don't think.
So the wall, the wall says anonymous, and somebody donated like almost like $500,000 or something like that. I'm like, is that Keanu there? I was like, is that someone you know? So
I know in the Matrix movies, the special effects people and the stunt people, Keanu took a portion of his paycheck, which is, I think, I had heard it was like $10 million of his payday check.
Yeah.
He actually split that check into single checks for everybody who worked on the stunt teams and the VFX teams and stuff like that, or like, CG stuff. So they actually made a better rate on it. So, which was kind of nice. Sorry, my allergies like going crazy. So,
it's allergy season.
I know.
It's allergy
season.
It's insane. It just flared out.
So I think it's kind of nice. Like I think, as much as you're given, I think it's always good to kind of give back. I think that's why it's important for me. Like all my friends are like, "You're so stupid. You could have kept all that money for yourself." And I'm just like, it just doesn't seem right. It's like, well,
why?
I can do that. Like this position to kind of help out. I mean, I still have other books. If I want to sell those, then I can sell those. Whatever money I get. It's just
exactly.
It just doesn't seem right to hog it all. It's like.
One of the things that I want to ask you too as well is that me and Louis were been talking about the changing kind of pace of like what DC and Marvel are doing right now. It seems like they're kind of focusing a lot on YA stories, like young adult stories. Do you feel like that's what's been happening with DC and Marvel lately, or it's just like going with the times kind of thing?
No, I think they're just scaling into another market. I think the scholastic market that goes right into schools and kindergartens, preschools, and junior highs and things like that is a huge market, and it's $1 billion industry for books that are clocking in around $12.99 to $19.99 to $24.99. So, it would make sense financially to have your base market, which is the direct market, and then have the YA market where you can hopefully pay talent, win some awards, and get into the hands of younger readers. That way, as those readers age out of that market and mature, they become regular readers of Marvel Comics or DC Comics products. So, I mean, it's a calculated step to do that. I think it's a good idea. I just think it's just like, this is something that should have been done years ago. They just never really kind of got on it.
Is that something that you think that you would be interested in doing? Like, say, interior wise?
Yeah, I think the YA market would be fun. The thing about it is, as long as the content doesn't play down to young adults, you always want to play up to the audience. I'd like to be able to push what kind of content we're putting in there and what type of message the book is about. So,
because Lewis and I were talking about it the other day too as well, and I still think that the New 52 initiative that DC did was like the greatest thing that DC has ever done. That's just my opinion at it. I mean, you know, you have like artists and writers before that wasn't a household name, or just becoming one became a household name now. Yourself, Tyler's there too as well, Scott Snyder.
Are you talking about more about Rebirth instead, or New 52 specifically?
No, New 52 specifically.
Talking about New 52.
New 52 specifically.
Okay.
Like, I mean, I remember when not a lot of people know that Scott Snyder started with Swamp Thing when the New 52
and American Vampire too.
And American Vampire.
He did more horror stuff, which
yeah.
I mean, it's I think
yourself too as well. So
yeah, I did a little bit of stuff here and there.
A little bit there, yeah.
My stuff was more on Rebirth, and like I'm more partial to Rebirth, just because the content actually mattered in a sense of that it was tied directly into the universe instead of the Pocket Universe, which is the New 52. But that said, I think they took a lot of bold chances, which was nice. And I think the person you probably want to get on board, he'd probably be down to do your show, is Dan DiDio. You know, he's no longer a part of DC hierarchy structure. You know, he's freelance now. He's doing freelancing over at the Kubert School, with writing and things like that. I'm sure he'd love to share all the ins and outs of New 52 and
he'll just spill everything what happens. Like, this is my plan.
He was the architect behind that. It's him and Jim, but it's mainly Dan who actually spearheaded that whole thing. He just radically different takes on these characters. So I think it was a smart move in the sense of giving readers something different. The way they pulled it together was incredibly fast. It's just, I think there was a lot of missed opportunities. My critique of it is just as my own opinion with, like, you know, you're just repackaging something for the direct market again, when you could have just opened this up to YA markets, all these other things. Because you had a lot of media interest around it. You could have used that as a bridge to jump off onto other markets. I would have really pushed digital at that time. But you know,
the problem with like the current landscape is that they're taking less and less down risks. Like they're trying to go for what they're confident that they can solve versus like what would be an interesting approach or maybe a new approach. It's just less risk taking. Is the way I see that they're taking.
Well, the thing is, so yes and no. So I would say the thing about it is everything, like, for me, I could see the writing on the wall because I came from games and we had this huge, I worked over at Riot, and I understand the numbers that direct to customer service can give you when you're delivering free content. And I kept trying to harp on that. I was like, hey, look, you know, we can adapt free to play model in games to free to read. You know, you become insular. If you build your own market, you don't need Diamond. Customers come directly to you for content. It's a built-in audience. You have this magic portal called DC Comics or MarvelComics.com.
Right.
Millions of people come to you every day. Like, give them something. Let them read comics.
Right.
Have a merch store attached to it. Sell directly to the customer. Like, build these bases. Build these things out.
Right.
You know, have a digital long box. Give books away. They can read free every month. And if you have a movie like Justice League, hey, here's Dark Side stuff. You can read for free for 2 weeks. If you want to buy it, it costs you this much digitally, and it goes into your long box. That way you get familiar with who the characters are, who the players are. Stream cartoons on there, do all this stuff. It's all this stuff to create your own insular island to have customers come directly to you. The thing is, it's hard to get older guys, and this is not a jab at anybody. It's just the mentality that I found. We're talking with people who are kind of like ingrained in comics, is just to invest in digital because their idea of digital is comicsology, and it's not the same thing. You know,
right.
In my opinion, you know, in my conversations I've had, it's been like. You know, digital is so much more. And I think the idea is now, I think DC is actually on board with trying to do that now. I think the problem is that they're hiring guys from esports, which is not necessarily a bad thing, but I think the smarter move is you want to hire people who actually work in digital publishing. So people have worked at like Playboy.com or People.com or TV Guide or things like that, magazine places, Time Magazine, Newsweek, things like that, who actually are already scaled to digital editions, USA Today, newspapers, editions who actually understand how to sell that market, how how that market works and how to scale within that market as far as delivering content. Like,
right.
That's the future, whether people want to accept it or not, because people want to be able to read content. The idea is you go to an airport and you're captive audience on an airport, in a taxi, on a bus, and if you just get free content there, you pop in a code and you read comics while you're waiting for your plane. Oh, like that's a great idea. And if you can create that engagement, because it's just you're giving something away for free, one book or a series that you can read 5 titles for free that we create digitally, specifically online. You want it in print, we'll collect it in print and send it and sell it to the direct market for comic shops. So you have to try all these things, because at some point print is becoming a niche market, because it doesn't matter how many books you have or titles you have. If your direct market is only less than 2,000 direct to consumer shops,
right,
there's only so much content or product those shops will buy or take a chance on. So you got to you have to leverage 2 markets, because the comic market has always had 2 markets, which is the direct and newsstand. And now that newsstand was the bigger of the 2 for a long time. It's just you had to deal with returnables. But now with newsstand being gone for the past 20 years and the direct market was at its peak, probably somewhere in the 90s, shrinking in 2000 and continuing to shrink now, you have to scale out to other entities to make business, because right now it's not really about content per se. It's about how much money you're taking in with the products and the audience that you have, because you're owned by corporate shareholders now.
Right.
It's not Time Warner. You know, you can't write off everything now on R&D like at Disney. They still write off a lot of Marvel stuff as research and development, because they can take that content and translate it into other things. So they can write off the losses in comics, but they'll make up for it in movies and things like that and licensed products.
Right.
Whereas DC now, it's all marketing. It's under marketing, so they have to make money. Things are a little bit harder. It's a bottom line. So
do you think it's
a way to make money? So
do you think and speaking of DC trying to find a way to make money, there was recent news that it's still unconfirmed right now, but it's been going around that DC and Warner had invited a few investors or publishers that may be interested in licensing their characters and their stories, kind of like what Marvel done with IDW, with Star Wars and Marvel Action and whatnot. Do you think that's actually a good move on DC's part, trying to expand a little bit more on other publishers?
So it's not necessarily DC. So it's DC properties, but it's corporate AT&T guys looking out to see, because it's mostly about bean counters. Again, it's about what is this? Is this a cost-effective entity for us? Right. It always breaks down to dollars. So they're just looking at the cost and saying, well, how much could we get if we license these out? You know, could we make $10 million instead of investing $8 million to make $10 million? Can we just license this out and make $10 million and we still own all the content? Is that possible? You know, these are the conversations that they're having, and it's worth looking into, because they're a corporation. They want to make money. So that's the problem when you get bought by a multi-billion-dollar corporation. So.
Do you think that AT&T is trying to make money off DC right now, or they're just trying to kind of save what else is left with DC?
They don't. I'm sure people within AT&T structure love DC and love the content and love the characters, but at the bottom line, they own. They're mega corporations, right? They own billion-dollar industries. So comics collectively make a little shy under $2 billion a year. Of that $2 billion, maybe, you know, pretty close to $1 billion for DC and Marvel each, and then everyone else. So if they own a company that makes $1 billion, but then they own 15 other companies that make $8 billion, they're going to be like, what's the problem with DC here? Right.
What's going on?
So, you know, there's things that are being restructured and looked at, and you know, things have to shrink in order for them to expand again, and hopefully those people in corporate are making the right decisions for DC. You know, we just don't know, because DC necessarily doesn't really have a say in that. They have a voice, but they don't have a voice. You know, because they're like, well, it's looking at profitability, and right now there's been arguments too saying, well, there's so much content, over 60 plus years of content and stories within DC Comics that you don't need to really create any more content because you can just pull off those other stories. So necessarily, they don't need to put out a new comic book. They can just invest that money in making a cartoon series or TV show and keeping the brands going like that.
Exactly.
So there's a lot of conversations that are happening. It's just, this is what happens though when you don't create market share, because even if you're an industry loser as far as profits, but your footprint is big in terms of readers. Let's say you build out your digital readers and you have like over 1 billion readers. That's pretty good. So they're like, well, you know what? This doesn't really make money, but they have 1 billion readers. So if we attached a web store to our digital content that we give out for free, and we sell product to those readers, what is the percentage of people who would actually buy that specific content? We're like, oh, then we can partner with other partners, and you cut out the middleman. You don't have to go to the Toys R Us or go through Diamond or Amazon. You can just fulfill it yourself. You have smaller partners within APAC. You break it up into territories, and you have those territories. Like if readers order in China or Japan, that all comes out of APAC. It's all shipped out of the APAC area. You know what I mean? So those conversations are always happening, and it's always about costs.
It's funny though. Like, have you ever wondered why DC has never kind of followed Marvel's path in terms of like offering the digital content with the book itself? Because I mean, like that would make a lot of sense, right?
Well, so again, you're just getting the equivalent of a JPEG PDF, what you get on Comixology. So I can see that eventually disappearing, because I honestly, I don't have the numbers in that, because I myself find it not effective, because the thing is, you got to build a platform for your digital books and your digital content. It's got to be it's got to be an interesting platform so you can scale through your comics. It's kind of like you just flip through it, and it's like a rotating rack of a single issues that you can just flip through until you find the issue you want. You pull it out of your digital long box and you can read it, and you have a different type of experience. It's scaled for the digital experience. That is a true digital experience. But you need people to understand digital to build that out for you. And that's where your money should go. Building those experiences. So the digital experience, because like as great as Webtoon is, I hate the fact that you have to scroll up and down. The fact that you can't scroll left or right drives me crazy, because as comic readers, we're taught to read left to right. And people in the APAC, what they consider APAC, which is, Asian Pacific countries, they read from right to left. So, so the fact that you can't do that, you're going to go up and down.
No, you can't go down. Like,
and when you tell stories that scale up and down, it changes the flow of panels, how you structure your panels, because a lot of my friends who do webtoons, now when they go to print, they have to restructure and rescale those panels, because you don't have one long comic book that you read that's like this. You have to go, left to right. So you're like right to left or whatever. It's just like you got to find a platform and thing that works for people that mimics what you already do in the real world, but then in the digital world, but also make the experience better.
It's speaking of digital world too as well.
It's
there's
boring as shit. I know. It's just like
no, not at all. It's actually pretty interesting. And like
no, it's pretty much like things I've been kind of thinking about. Like, it's just about the experience of everything versus like the content you're putting out there and how everybody's interacting with all these moving parts to make it interactive enough to get their attention and not bore them, because of just like people's attention span is that of a goldfish nowadays, and you need something not only to get them there but keep them there.
I think because they launched the DC app, which was a good idea, but then they kind of lost support from it. And the thing is, if you launch the DC app, you throw all your pop culture stuff into that, where you do comics and you do these things, because you said, this is DC Comics. We are DC Comics. All these things are DC Comics. Because Marvel has that figured out. It's called Marvel Films, Marvel Entertainment. All this stuff filters into that one thing, and they understand brand alignment. This is what we're pushing. We're pushing the Marvel name. And you got to do that.
They have really good interactive from point A to point B and C, and they're all wed in together, and you don't have to. It's kind of like in video games. Like no one wants to go get a Steam launcher and an Epic Games launcher and launcher. They all want one unified, and they can get pick games from anything.
That would be cool, but then you have to restructure a deal. Where
no.
Rates. Yeah, but I think the thing about it is like the right thinking is like, what is that? Because Marvel's digital experience, in my opinion, is not very good, and it's not a knock to those guys who are doing the digital experience. It's just there's not any money behind creating a better experience.
Yeah.
And
not in the short term, but I do think that there's plenty to be made in the long term.
Well, there has to be, because they're being forced to scale with that. Because I think when DC figures out what they're going to do with digital, I think, and they don't copy somebody like Webtoons, but they create their own platform, their own experience. If they figure that out, then I think it's going to create a standard for everyone else to follow. And they're going to be like, oh, okay, cool. This is what you can do. Because at that point, it's about reaching readers. And when you reach out to readers, the thing is the advertisers come. They're like, well, they have 1 billion readers collectively every month. I want to be part of that. So I'm Snickers, and I want to say, you know what? I want to reach your customers. And this is worldwide. So the thing about it is, when I'm talking about 1 billion readers, it's called localization. So when Batman comes out, everywhere worldwide, there's a translation of that Batman issue coming out all at the same time in everyone's native language or dialects or whatever, so they can read it at the same time. That means Snickers, hypothetically, can sell to all these customers to create brand awareness. So Snickers can say, you know what, you guys have over 1 billion readers. We're going to pay you $100 million to advertise in your books for a year. Now think about that. Okay, $100 million to reach over 1 billion readers for a year, just for one advertiser, hypothetically. And think about, okay, it only takes about, on average, $10,000 to $15,000 per book, per team, per issue to create one comic book, on average. That makes you really profitable really fast, because it's all digital. You're not going to print. You can go to print with those issues for the direct market, to support the direct market, but it's lower numbers. That's fine. But your main product is the digital product that you're putting forward. And that's more forward thinking. The thing about it is, it's really hard to get people to understand that and get on board with it, because these guys have grown up with, well, physical comics and that's it. And comics are not just physical comics anymore. You got to think longer term. But sometimes people don't want to. They just want to do things, and that's it. And
and they're interested in what can we get now out of it?
Well,
no, who cares about the 5 years? What about now?
Well, I think the idea,
and it's just that big flat number in the top.
Yeah. The idea is, and I don't want to make it seem like I'm taking a knock at anybody. It doesn't matter who the number one publisher is. I don't really care. It doesn't matter. What matters is, how are you reaching your customers? How are you reaching your readers? Are you reaching them through direct market only? Are you building a digital experience? Because when you do that, you're going to win out on everybody, because over time you'll create market share. You'll have more readers, more people will come. You got to find out how you want to market to your readers and where. I always say start in airports, taxis, and buses. You have a captive audience of people just sitting around on their phones anyway, just like whittling wood. That's basically what it is, wasting time until they can get on their flights and get going to their destinations. So with all that downtime, you want to maximize what you can do for people and what the content is. It's just, you got to understand, what is that digital experience going to be and what it's going to look like. And it's just like, the fact that it hasn't been done yet is pretty infuriating. But I think once everyone gets on board, you're going to see other companies do that. You're going to see smaller publishers get on board, because there's a platform, there's a market for it. When people know that, then they're like, oh, I can go directly to Boom, or I can go directly to Image, and I can go directly to Marvel. And everyone at that point is insulary. You don't really need Random House or Penguin or Diamond to distribute unless you do physical copies. But here's the thing. It's just like, if you're getting 1 billion readers collectively, you can monetize on that. Again, you can do it with advertising. You can do it with product, where you bring back DC Direct and start creating toys directly, where you just have to order. And that's the only place you get these DC Direct toys. It's like, it's great, you know? It's something we did at games very effectively when we were at Riot, because it would drive me crazy. I'm like, guys, we don't have a merch store. People love League of Legends. And just think, like, look, I'm not interested in targeting hardcore gamers for League of Legends, even though they were like, where do you make games for hardcore gamers? I'm like, look, you want your idea to be evergreen. Evergreen means that your IP, the IP in general, appeals to everybody, which means, hey, you know what? I like League of Legends, but I don't really want to play the game. But man, I love Garen or I love Blitzcrank. Well, we have a little Blitzcrank chibi toy that you can buy to interact with that, to show your brand love for that, or a shirt or a plushie or a wind-up toy or a statue. That's what you want to make available to people so they can interact with it on a different level. You can do hats, coats, you can do these things because people will love the brand, want to express it in a different way, and they don't have to be gamers at that point. You know what I mean? And that's the thing that's kind of lost on people. It's like, well, we do all this, we license this stuff out, but the thing is, it's like, yes, you can, but you can also do direct content for yourself, where it's just for us, because you have customers come directly to you. And the thing is, it's like, well, you don't have to sell a shirt to somebody for $5 because you have a middleman. You can take that whole $25 for yourself and sell directly to the customer.
Mm.
You know what I'm saying? It's just a different way of thinking about it. I think it's just, you have to think like a business person. You have to think long term. And the thing about it is just like, it's not just about putting out comics. Because the thing is, I would like to see our way of life continue, but if we don't scale, that potentially could disappear. You know, I think comics will always be around at some point, but I think there'll be more indie books out there than just, you know, maybe corporate books. When I say corporate, it's like DC or Marvel. So then that might disappear at some point. You never know. So.
Right. Yeah, we were talking about that the other day too, as well. That there was a big there's a rise in the indie comics that's been happening. You know, creator owned and whatnot. You saw that Jeff Johns started his own imprint too, as well, within Image as well. You know, starting with Geiger, and then it's expanding with Sniper and Slug and whatnot. So there's that big push for creator owned, which actually leads me to my next question too, as well. I mean, in terms of creator owned wise, you know, do you think this is going to be kind of like a norm now in terms of like your fellow creators? That's going to be happening, that they're going to be moving their own content.
Yeah, I think so, but it's not for the reasons you think per se. And thank you, Kevin. I'm glad you like the cover. Thank you. Thanks, John, for the support too at Geek Vice. Yeah, I think we want to do things as creators because comics used to be more creative driven. Now it's more brand driven. So where editorial and corporate have their own ideas of what the Batman stories, you know, because it's kind of like the retreats are now pitch meetings where writers and sometimes some select artists are pitching ideas that go along the line of like, okay, and then corporate takes that and says, okay, we're going to build a push around this. This is what we want to do. So everything, and so it's very editorial driven at that point. It's kind of like creating a comic book centering around a bag of Cheetos or Doritos. You know what I mean? It's very brand centered. And at the end of the day, the brand kind of has to stay the brand a little bit. You take chances with it, you change it a little bit, but at the end of the day, it's still going to be Batman at the end. You know, Batman comes out on top. You know, I think with creator-driven stuff, with indie books, like we have more freedom. The appeal is we have more freedom to tell the stories we want to do without an editor like, hey, you know, well, saying no or things like that. And it's not any way to disrespect corporate comics in any sense. It's just that's kind of how things are now. So people who want a little bit more control to do their own stories can do that by doing an indie thing.
So do you think that it's kind of like protecting their own creative idea? Because like I've seen interviews with, say, Chris Rock, that when he made Pootie Tang, he said he wanted to direct it and write it and produce it because he wants to protect that idea that he has in his head and actually put it in the screen. Do you think that's the same way too as well with creator owns that?
Yeah, well,
I'd rather do it on my own because I want to like just protect this idea that I have without anyone kind of meddling.
Yes, and also because whatever comes in, the creator gets themselves. Because if you give a creation over to Marvel or DC, you don't own that creation anymore. And necessarily, you're not going to be given money on top of that either if it goes in development or anything like that. You don't get that. Guess who gets that? The publisher does. So you might get a little tiny blurb at the end of the movie that says special thanks to. And in my opinion, that doesn't make it all right or cool. You know, because like I was reading, Ed Brubaker makes more off of his Winter Soldier appearance in the movie than he does on royalties of Winter Soldier, which is a little sad. You know, him and Steve Epstein created that character, even though the character was Bucky. They repackaged it and made that character what it is. You know, so there's.
Yeah, Jeff Johns also went into like records saying that the Kingdom Come outfit that Brandon Roth wore in on the crossover in the TV show, as well as the Wonder Woman golden armor, he got nothing from it.
Oh, Alex Ross, right.
Alex Ross, yeah, sorry, yeah, Alex Ross.
Right. So the idea is like, you know, this is nothing new. This kind of goes back to the Jack and Stan days where they pretty much just, you know, if you were talent, you're at the behest of the publisher, and it's still that way, you know. So I think when you do creator own, it's more of a need to assert yourself as a creator, to do your own things, not to give all your ideas away, because you'll probably never see revenues a lot generated if you'd rather just keep it in-house and for yourself. You know, there's got to be, the pendulum has been so swung far right, you know, it needs to be a little bit more in the middle, because there's so many things that skew in the publisher's favor, and there's very little for the talent that actually makes the content, you know? Because without us, they don't have that stuff. There is no Winter Soldier. There's no Kingdom Come outfits. There's no Kingdom Come. So I think they do pay a great rate to these creators, but they're making money at the back end. There should be something for those creators as a residual before that, whether it's used as a visual narrative, and visual artists don't get comp for that, because all the character design stuff that we get, they don't get comp, but a writer will get comp if their story gets used within a movie or TV. They get something, you know. So it's not exactly fair. So I think people making the move into creator own gives them that type of control and kind of scratches that itch. Now, I'm not saying these things to these are my own opinions. I'm not saying these things to upset anybody or anything like that. This is just the way it is. This is just how it is. So you need to know going in, like, hey, you know, you give these things, this is it. This is what you're getting, man. That's it. You know, you're not gonna, you know, no one's gonna get the Rob Liefeld cable Deadpool deal. They don't make those deals anymore. So that didn't happen.
I know, that's actually a pretty sweet deal. That's Rob Liefeld had.
Not really, because when you think of terms of how much Deadpool itself is generate over $1 billion, I think Rob only gets maybe 5 to 7% of that, which is still a lot. But I think Rob's doing a lot more than that, because he's done a lot more for those characters. But it's also Marvel's invested millions of dollars into making these characters more of what they are too. So the idea is that every creator should get something more than just that, like a byline in a movie. I think it should be a financial, because the thing is, we don't get retirement. It's all on us. You know, we're taxed at a higher rate because we're our own businesses. So it's a hard slog. We do comics because we love it, not because it's a financial, like, oh, we're gonna be rich. It's like, not really. So
let me ask you, let me segue into since creator owned kind of stuff, let me segue to NFTs.
Okay, sure. Yeah.
There's, I mean, like, as united as some artists may be in terms of opinions of NFTs, there are some divisions in there too as well, I guess, depending on who you ask. But I'm asking you, I guess, specifically, how do you feel about NFTs and actually artists, digital artists, other digital artists moving towards that, or even prints?
So I would
stuff too there.
I would say my opinions are this is my own opinion and no one else's. And I want to make sure, like, look, publishing houses themselves aren't the bad guys in this. Marvel's not the bad guy. DC is not the bad guy. There's people at both companies who believe that NFTs, artists should be allowed to do that. There are guys I've talked to that, like, hey, you know, whatever, like, that's fine. Like, you know, but it's not their decision. Again, they're owned by multi-billion-dollar mega corporations. Those are the people who actually make the decision. So the thing about it is, I'm not really concerned about opinions from people who do fan art, not considered opinions who do fine art. The only opinion that I care about in the NFT market is in terms of what they structure and what they term as comic book art. That's the only thing I care about. We shouldn't have an opinion on the environmental impact of this, because look, we can say everything that we want, but we don't control how Ethereum or Bitcoin run their servers, or whether it's ecologically sound or not. The market's going to be there regardless. So what I'm saying in terms of that, those markets will self-regulate themselves because of the public pressure that's behind that. So the environmental concerns I think people have with NFTs, I've been reading online that those entities are actually scaling to make those things more sustainable and more economically sound as far as its impact on the environment.
Right.
So I think those things will work itself out. Like the argument for artists right now, especially comic book artists, is what is digital art or what is art in general? And the argument, in my opinion, should be because right now it's different from every publishing house is what is concerned, like what terms original art. And right now, original art is just considered physical art used for print, right? Or print consumption. So artists have rights to sell physical art, the physical art. So if I produce this by hand, I can turn around and sell it. I have rights to the physical original art. I don't have rights to the characters or anything like that. It's just an image, right, that I can sell. So the argument right now is there's some debate whether or not they consider art that is considered created digitally does not have the same rights as original art. So necessarily they're not, some places, not all places, are considering, like if you're a digital artist for comic books specifically, that the art you do is not considered original art. So we have to change that, because the thing is we need to fight for the right and the definition, the legal definition. We have to define it ourselves. We can't let entities or corporations define that, because that's how they stand on, that's how they make laws. Well, the definition is this. So we can make a law that says this based on this definition. That's what they argue in court. So the thing about it is we need to say, as artists who work in comics, whether we're original artists who work for physical or digital, we need to say any art that is created for print or print consumption should be considered original art. That's it. That should be the defining statement of what original art is. So once you have that definition cleared out, then the next fight would be, well, because this is considered original art, the same rights should be granted for original arts as in terms of sale. We should have the right to sell the digital original copy or the physical original copy into whatever market that is. Now, we can't sell the whole book I can't sell an entire issue as an NFT, because that's a comic. You can't do that. The publisher can do that. They can sell an NFT if they want, right? But I should, in my opinion, be able to sell that, like that single image as that. Now, when I'm talking about selling a single image, I mean this. Just the image. There's no animations, there's no music, there's no motion, there's no nothing. It's just that image. When you add motion and music and different effects and stuff like that, it becomes a different product. That becomes a licensed product. And yes, you know what? Those print and publishing houses have that right to their cut on top of that. Absolutely, because you're modifying a product. But again, we need to define that term as far as, in my opinion, should be any art that is used for print or print consumption is considered original art, whether it's made digitally or as a physical product. Because then you can start defining it and saying, well, then we have rights to that single image to do with as we please. Because DC and Marvel, those mega corporations don't get a cut of somebody selling a cover for $800 and then 20 years later that owner selling that same art for like $300,000. The artist doesn't get a cut of that. The publisher doesn't get a cut of that, or the IP holder. It's whoever owns the physical art. So the same thing should be done. I think NFTs give that opportunity for an artist to always make a cut, whether that gets resold or not.
And then that's basically just where it lands to, doesn't it? It's always about, because NFT has a bigger cut on it, that's where, Marvel and DC and whatnot kind of step in and be like, hey, you can't do that. They're not going on record saying we're not getting a cut from it, because you can be in a convention and sell your original art and they wouldn't care. But when it goes to NFTs, all of a sudden,
how is that different from the original art market? It's not. It's just on a digital platform. If you go to like Heritage or Sotheby's or Comic Link online, you look at how much money original art sells for, and you got to remember Like most of us sell art because we need to, not because we want to. But guys who do it, hey, that's great on them. But like if you sell something because you need to pay rent, and I would say poor artists, blah blah blah, but it's just you sell what the market can bear. And let's just say that character is a first appearance of Carnage, and you got to draw him, and then so some guy bought it for $500, and now he can turn around and sell that for $500,000. It's like the same thing should be done for an NFT, because if it was done digitally, it's the same thing. It's still minted. There's a chain of ownership that you can follow throughout that entire thing. It's a lot easier actually for tracking, and to be taxed on it. So I would think the Fed would be behind it, and I think artists would be behind it because we're getting a cut of that. And the thing about it is, this opens it up for pencilers, inkers, and colorists, even letterers, to make a back end on the stuff they're doing already, because this allows us to have some residual income coming in when we retire for things. Ideally, I mean, we don't know if this market's going to explode or implode, but the thing about it is I think it's going to continue to evolve and expand. And again, the publishing houses aren't the bad guys here. They're just trying to understand the landscape and going forward. It's like, because their lawyers, and I'm saying the corporate mega, corporations lawyers are looking at, well, what is the definition of it? And if we have a definition of this, and right now comics aren't really moneymakers for us, if we get into the NFT market, this could be potentially an extra $1 billion for us a year. That's a win for us. We should do it. But then,
this is uncharted territory for everybody, right?
This is the same fight that Neil Adams fought with in the late 70s, early 80s with original art returns for artists. And that worked because artists got behind it. And collectively, everyone got behind it. And we need to have something grassroots like that now for artists right now to advocate. It's just right now the argument's all over. And I'm not really concerned about the arguments on Twitter. I'm only concerned about the opinions that should counter people actually working in the industry, because we're the ones directly affected, right? It's not, not some guy who does fan art of Lobo and wants to sell it as an NFT. It's the same thing. So we're actually working professionals doing stuff. And the thing around NFTs should be legally defined as you can sell original art. So if it's a cover or pinup or an original art page, then yes, but you can't do it with fan art. I mean, that's kind of an even trade-off at that point. You know what I mean? There has to be standards. I think the only publisher right now who's actually very forward-thinking and proactive is AWA. We're saying, hey, you can do whatever you want with your digital editions as far as your single image. If you want to sell it as an NFT, you have every right to do that. Go for it. Right.
I saw the article where they backed up Mike Diodata about his opinions about NFTs, that it should, people should have the exact same kind of, digital artists should have the exact same kind of
same rights as original
rights as the traditional artists do as well. So I think AWA was a little bit more forward to that. Do you know what would be the issue and why others are not kind of more forward to it? Kind of
what
thing.
What other artists are?
Not backing up NFTs kind of thing.
I can't speak for other artists. From what I have seen is people poo-pooing it because of the environmental issues, but you have to understand, you have to separate that. That's a separate argument for this. We're talking about artist rights in terms of what is coined original art. That's the definition that you have to fight for, because that's the first battle. The stuff that the environmental issues has nothing to do with us. It really doesn't, because we don't have a direct impact on that. We can't solve that issue. It's those people who own that. They're going to solve it because there's public pressure to solve it. And believe me, they are solving it. There's dozens of articles out there saying, hey, look, we're working on it. Probably, I'm sure within 6 months to a year, that thing will be solved.
Yeah.
You know what I mean? So you have to sift through that and say, look, the argument should be this, folks. It should be a very serious thing. And it shouldn't be an argument right now. I think with publishers and everyone, there should just, look, there's room in here for everybody to make money, because publishers can sell NFT minted copies of books to buy first edition, digital first editions.
Right.
They can do that. They have that right. There's money for them out there. There should be money for us as well. Everyone can win on this. It's just, let's talk and have a rational discussion about it. there's plenty of meat on the bone for everybody. The thing is this, are people going to get greedy or not? And I think that's the thing. It's just like,
right.
You have to big picture it. This is not going to go anytime soon. I think the thing about what hurt Mike Diodato is that he went ahead and sold a property and did that. And that what kind of started the issue then, where like, hey, whoa,
Right.
I think on him because no one was giving him good answers. So it's like, okay, well, I'm just going to do this. And they're going to have to deal with it, which is understandable as well. I just think it's just like, there has to be at some point I'm sure within a year, there's going to be some concrete discussions and talks about it probably. And this isn't something that publishers can just offer to just exclusive talent because that's favoritism. You can't offer one set of benefits to people when everyone's doing the same thing. It just doesn't. You're going to get a lot of pushback, I think.
Yeah, because I saw there was an article saying that DC and Marvel sent out a letter to all the artists that they have on file saying that you can't sell these in NFTs.
They're trying to figure it out. I think it's not them per se, it's the corporate owners. Their lawyers are figuring it out. And it's not Marvel's lawyers or DC's. I'm sure they're part of the discussion, but I think it's people within the digital space trying to figure those things out because there's money attached to it. So they're going to try to figure that out. I think the thing is, once they figure it out, then we can start weighing in like, hey, but for us right now is the only thing that we need to say as artists is like, hey, any art created for print or print consumption is considered original art, whether it's digital or physical. That's what we need to be doing collectively, in my opinion, as artists, saying that should be it, because under that definition, we're granted these rights.
Right.
You know what I'm saying? Because that's what that translates into, because the original art market is already built in. It's been there a long time.
Right.
And I'm sure Sotheby's, Comic Link, Heritage, they want to get into the NFT market as well because there's money there. They're waiting to find out what's going on. So they're digital editions of these. This would be great. So there's a lot of people looking to weigh in on these. I think it's going to take time, and there should be discussion. And I guarantee you they are having discussions with their talent over there. And I think they're gonna figure it out. I think for us, again, we just need to make sure the argument is for us right now is what the term original art is. We should define that as artists.
Yeah.
But my thinking is it's probably going to end up where different publishers are going to offer different deals for NFTs. So if you work at AWA, you get these rights as far as digital. If you work at Marvel, these are the rights you're going to get. DC, you're going to get these rights. It's going to be different for everybody. I think that's what's going to happen.
Right.
I'd be more happy with everybody adhering to one standard, but when you're talking about potential of millions or billions of dollars collectively, people get a little crazy. So
do you think that, in your opinion, NFTs are highly collectible? Same thing as like prints?
Yeah, I don't see why not. Like, there's a market for it, then why not? Like, the thing is, anything that allows artists to continue to make art, I'm for, in the sense that as long as it's a legitimate way to do it. You know what I mean? When I say legitimate is, if we've already done this for print and we're extending these rights for print to sell the original, the physical original, then we should be able to do that with the digital NFT.
Right.
And we're always going to get a residual on that versus me selling, the cover to Marvel Action Spider-Man, for not that much, and then, and then getting it, you know what I mean? It's like, well, you're always going to see a return on. That's a great thing, because then, later on down the line, if it changes hands, like, and the prices increase more, I'm going to get a cut of that. I'm like, hey, wow, cool, I can pay rent, or I could pay for my Medicaid or whatever it is. I think there's, by and large, most creatives creative talent is what feeds movies and comics and animation and music and all this stuff, And the thing people need to realize is, without us, they have nothing to sell to give to people. Of course. Yeah. So there has to be something for us at some point. But the thing is, if you're just interested in putting food on the table, you're just going to take the work as it comes, because the thing is, an American artist might have a different opinion versus somebody who, say, lives outside the US, who, like, hey, that the American page rate puts food on my table and pays for my kids' healthcare and all this stuff. Like it's different, and I understand where everyone's coming from. The thing is, there should be a fair equity standard for everybody going forward.
Right.
You know? The thing is, if I'm working for an entity that's always just taking all the time, at some point it's like, why do I want to keep doing that? What purpose does it serve? It's not. It becomes abusive at that point, and no one wants that situation to happen or continue to happening. So it's just deciding, like, you know, people are gonna have to decide what's best for them in the end.
Right.
The bad part is when there's a push for artists to do this, and then there's a pushback where other artists don't want to do it. And the people who turn down work, those other people are going to pick up that work. You know, it's hard that artists always undercut everybody, but that's
right. So, let me ask you before I ask about your own creator-owned. Do you have any future projects that you have lined up? You don't have to say
I'm working on Princess Dragon Killer still, so I'm still, you know, chipping away at that thing. But you know, the honest thing is, I just want to make sure it's right. You know, so I brought in a co-writer to kind of help me and an editor to kind of figure that out, because my wife's always talking about. Yes, exactly. No, she's always talking about who's, you know, you got to build your team. Right. You know, especially when you're working in digital spaces, because like for me, I've been working on this thing for 2 years, and you know, off and on. Like when I need money, then I have to stop. I have to work on other stuff. But the thing about it is like when you have one brain on it, it's going to take 2 years. If I have like 2 or 3 brains on it, I could probably get it done probably in less than a year. So it's like, okay, cool. Like I'm still writing, I'm still doing all this stuff, but then I'm taking that and then getting it to a co-writer who's actually going in and like cleaning things up, making things better, combining things. Like, hey, you know, it's
correct me if I'm wrong though, but you haven't revealed an image yet.
No, not yet. No.
Not a single one yet.
Well, the thing is, so I've learned from past mistakes that when you put images out there, people can borrow from that image as much as they want. Right. You know what I mean? So when I'm ready to share before the book comes out, then you share, you do that front loading for like 2 months beforehand. You start, here it is, and here's the content. So the thing is, you're just ponying up your characters to be, borrowed from and swiped from, and it's just stupid. Don't do it. Like,
I told you about.
Could we beg you to spoil the color palette that you'll be using?
So
you can't steal a color palette. Well, no, depending on you can steal a color palette.
You can steal.
No, we can't get away with anything. Can we get away with the shades you're going to be using?
Yes, very. I want to do something that feels more European. So I'm not really like. I don't want to do something that feels like an American comic, and not to knock the great American comics are being bad.
So brights with really dark darks.
I kind of want it to be more atmospheric driven, so it's like more mood and things that kind of put you in the tone. So if like there's fire, you're gonna feel like, hey, characters are lit correctly. You know what I mean?
Oh, it's kind of like the
proper shadowing.
Yeah, kind of like the way Christopher Nolan always like directs. It's always like on location, like with landscapes and all that kind of stuff.
Things feel like the world is rich, but I just wanted to feel different from like. There's a million books that look like Spider-Man or Street Fighter or whatever. Like when you put your stuff out there, you're really up against those books. Like people can compare that to that because the color, everything looks like that. When you do something that feels a little bit more unique, when people look at it, they're like, well, this is different. This is its own thing. And I'm betting that people will buy that based off of that. You know what I mean?
That was your spoiler for Concept's idea.
Well, the thing is, like, I think there should be more choice in terms of what type of comics come out.
Yeah. Diversity is key for any community to thrive.
Right. Yeah, I think there should be more diverse voices and looks for books. There's nothing wrong with doing something that feels straight up superhero. I think whatever choices those creators make are personal choices. Like for me, I just want to do something that's a little different, that feels different, that moves.
I do believe that the market for manhwa really took advantage of that, and that's how we're just seeing more and more of that style popping up left and right for those who are actually reading it. So
Yeah.
there is still a very much huge hole for new generations to experience new different types of styles and art and forms of breeding, that people think like, oh no, it's already a crowded space. Like, no, there's plenty of space, because not everybody's interested in everything, and there's huge groups of people that are just like bored of the old and want something new at this point.
Well, I think they can have both. They can have something new, and they can have something that feels familiar. I think it's just comics. I don't like putting comics in this one narrow little category of just superhero, and it's not. It's all these things that are mixed into it. It could be anything. So I think the thing is just to do something that you're having fun with, that you like enjoy doing, and hopefully people will join you for the ride. If not, it's totally cool. There's other books that people can interact with. I think you just want to give people a choice. And I think when you put something different that's out there, people have choice on, they might gravitate towards that. But you'll never know until you put it out, And I just feel like, I've done stuff for other publishers. Just be nice to do something that directly enriches me and my family. That way, I can do whatever story I pretty much want to do. Like, I'm talking to my team, like, hey, let's do this. Hey, what other ideas you want to do? Let's throw a giant monkey with a big battle axe. Like, let's do that. You know what I mean?
And that is the spoiler for Giant Monkey with Battle Axe.
That's right. That's right.
So, it's already in the movie, Lewis.
That's true. Let's talk King Kong. Right.
Yeah.
Right. I'm saying that you could do. There's so much stuff out there. Comics aren't just one narrow little definition. I think the thing you look at, like what Image is doing and what Boom is doing. Boom especially is really front and center. Like the amount of books that they're doing and how diverse those are, and people are responding to that with orders is pretty great. You know what I mean? Like they're not really just straight up superhero books. I mean, it feels superhero, but it's not. It's totally different. I think people want that. You look at film, there's different types of film. Can you imagine if every movie was a superhero movie? Man, that would suck.
Yeah, the funny thing is that you mentioned that I was watching the other day, Alice in Borderland in Netflix, and that movie was amazing. Like, and that wasn't a superhero movie. That was just like what would happen if Saw was a whole city. So that was actually like cool. It was very interesting. I highly recommend it. If you haven't seen it, I highly recommend it. So as of right now, if you can give us this information, how many pages are you thinking as of right now for Princess Dragon Killer?
I think about 152 to 200 pages. So I don't know if I'm going to Kickstarter that into like 55 to 66 page graphic novels or prestige formats, or I'm going to do single issues. So I know if I go direct market, I'll probably have to do single issues, but I think there's more impact in doing something as a Kickstarter. But I don't know. I haven't found a publishing house for it yet.
Well, I mean, like if the Boom Studios Kickstarter for Berserker basically showed everybody, you can actually just do like 2 graphic novels or 2 hard covers, and people will still definitely gravitate towards that, as long as it's original characters and original story, right?
I think so. I think we shouldn't pigeonhole yourself into one market. I think because the direct market is like, again, there's less than 2,000 direct market shops, or around 2,200 or something like that. How many of those people like, oh, I like Jonboy, but I'm not too familiar. Princess Dragon Killer, I'll just order 1 copy, versus like I can sell directly to my fan base via Kickstarter. So 600 orders on Kickstarter could be vastly different monetarily than versus 600 orders on Diamond. You know what I mean? So I'd love to be able to play to both. I can do Kickstarter graphic novel volumes on Kickstarter, and then single issue stuff for the direct market. It's just 2 different. They're very clearly 2 different markets, 2 different type of collectors. So,
I don't think I've asked you this before about Princess Dragon Killer, but have you thought of like going through publishers for it? And I'm in the process of like talking to people and saying, like, I think my thing is just, I'm not really wild about carving up a percentage to a publisher, because like I've done all the work on this. I'm paying for everything. Like, why do I have to give them like,
if they're going to give me $1 for every $10, like,
Right.
why do I have to give you $9 of my money? I don't understand. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
So, like, that's the thing for me. I think it's just like something like Image might be a little better, because I don't need anybody to shop this around. I'm not really doing this for a development deal. We get one out of it. Hey, that's great. I can take that money and divvy it up within the people on my team, so everyone gets a cut.
Right.
But like, I'm doing a comic because I want to tell a story, and I'm passionate about doing my own thing.
Right.
And I hope financially we make the money I can continue to do that.
Right.
So,
have you thought of like doing like Mark Miller did? Just sell it to Netflix first and then make a book out of it?
Well, usually those entities come to you, like, hey, would you like this? And they'll, by the time, like, usually when those deals happen, the bean counters there assess the market value of what they think they can make off of that. Like, in any market, the bean counters are the guys who have the most power. And you think the CEOs are, no, it's the people who count the money and plan out what the next moves are. Like, this would be a good buy. We can invest in this because, like, Warner Brothers with Harry Potter, were like, yes, we can afford to pay J.K. Rowling this much to develop this because we know with our machine and our movies, we're going to make even more money on this. So that's how those things work. They kind of work the percentages. It's almost like putting together trust funds or hedge funds. It's the same thing. We're like, okay, we're hedging our bets. So we do this, we're going to make this much money. So
it's funny that you said that the bean counters had all the power because
they do.
My wife does the same. She's probably watching right now and saying the same thing because she tells me all the time. It's like, you think the CEOs have the power? The bean counters, they have the final say on everything.
Because they're going to look at them and say, Johnson,
yeah,
how does this look? And they're like, oh, sir, we can make $2.2 billion if we do this. And they're like,
yeah,
great.
It's very reminiscent of Moneyball. That scene with Brad Pitt and Jonah Hill. When they're looking at him first and be like, does this work?
How it works. Yeah. Well, that's the thing. Well, it's at the end of the day, it's about profitability.
Right.
You want to be able to say, okay, we developed this. This is how much we can make.
Mm-hmm.
There's a hype. There's a thing going on with this. We can capitalize on it. Let's do it.
Right.
But I mean, this is not why I'm doing my own creator-owned thing. It'd be nice to do, get a development deal, like, great, cool.
Right.
But the thing is, you got to understand too. Once you sell that development deal, unless you're producing on it, you're not going to have a lot of say because, like Kirkman has some say in what happens on the Walking Dead show, but not really.
Mm-hmm.
AMC owns that show, so they may ask him what he thinks, but then they may or may not take his opinion on it.
I think I think that's what happened. I believe in the third season, why Robert Kirkman left The Walking Dead, the TV series. I think there was like a misunderstanding or something that happened. He was the creator of it or something like that.
Well, the thing about it is, I think you just have to divorce yourself from the fact that it's just like, hey man, I sold this for X amount of millions of dollars. I'm getting this much residual coming in. Whether this thing does good or great, look, I'm just going to take care of my people on my team, and I'm still going to put out some kick-ass comics, and that's what I'm going to do, and that's it. After a couple of years, this will run its course, and whatever deal you signed, eventually those rights may revert back to him. Who knows? I don't know what type of deal they signed. But, the thing is, I can guarantee you Robert has more say on Invincible now.
Yeah.
More creative control because he's producing. It's all his thing.
He's writing and doing everything.
It's kind of like
I can definitely see it too.
Selling your kids. I'm going to sell my first kid, and then my next kid is going to be even better, and then I'm having more control over that. They're going to be willing to take more of a bet on me and have more control. That's usually how these things work. So you got to prove yourself as a proven creator on one thing, and then you get something else. So
before we end this podcast as well, sir, do you have any future projects that you have lined up in the next 6 months or a year or so that we should look forward to?
Working on Princess Dragon Killer. Hopefully we'll have an announcement probably between August, November of this year, I hope.
Okay.
So things are moving like they have been.
You're doing any interiors with any publisher?
Yeah, I'm actually working on a Red Sonja thing right now, just a 10-pager. So
Fantastic!
not
Oh,
allowed to
that's-
really talk about it. So,
Yeah.
but I'm getting to pencil, ink, color, and write on it too. So that's why. I
Right.
did it. So
Are you working on anything Spawn?
no.
I'm a big advocate of you doing Spawn because like that was like my favorite Spawn. Like every time we talk, I always say, "Are you doing anything Spawn? Why did they not invite you for the 300 issue?" So now that there's Spawn universe, are you sure Todd has not reached out to you about
no. If he has, I'd be like, yeah, he reached out to me. It was great. No, it's just Todd's working with other creators. He got other guys. I had my chance on Spawn, and I left it to go work on Teen Titans. So
I just think it was very significant. You're the one who actually brought the character back to life. Like literally,
we worked
were that
hard on
person.
that. We worked very hard. Like Paul Jenkins and I really worked really hard to make that its own thing. I'm glad that hard work is bearing better fruits now. It's even better now that because Todd is more invested in the direct comic now too. He's more hands on, so he's not distracted by like movies or anything like that, which is good. Because you're getting the full Todd's brain on this. So, and you're looking to see like it's this crazy thing now. So
yeah,
it's good.
Like
Todd getting that
thing for like Rebirth kind of thing. And like, have they asked you to do some more Teen Titans stuff or Titan stuff too as well?
I don't think so. I think the way I left it with those publishers after leaving, it's kind of like it wasn't very popular. So usually, like when publishers break up with you, usually they want to be the one to break up with you, not the other way around. So
it's like, no, I dumped you.
The thing about I think for me, like it's ancient history. It's no big deal for me. For me, is more around like my contract and the financials around it. When those things change, it's like,
yeah. There's like a couple of things that's happening in Marvel too as well that your hand would definitely be great in there. I mean, I would have thought they asked you for Children of the Atom. I mean, like that would be great.
Well, no, I mean,
your pencils in there.
Well, that's the thing. It's just like, why would they want to work for somebody who left them? So it's like, why would they reach out? Because I think they know, like, for me, I would want a really good contract, and I want everyone to like, hey, like we stick to whatever's on the contract. Let's do that. But my feelings aren't hurt. It's okay. Like I still love those IPs. I still occasionally do covers and stuff like that. It's good. Like there's no hurt feelings on my end. I think they're just working with creators that they enjoy working with. There's no harm, no foul on it. So like my feelings aren't hurt. It's like
I know that you mentioned earlier today that you signed with you signed a little bit of a cover contract for Boom Studio too as well.
I'm doing an exclusive contract with Boom. So like I always get covers to do covers for Boom every month. I'll be working on something for them. So
cool,
which is nice. So
are you allowed to say what covers there are or no?
I think I did one for. Let's see, Something is Killing the Children.
Ooh.
I'm doing one for Eve. I did one for Orcs, Berserker. There's a book called Good Luck. I did one.
It's one currently in the orders right now.
Is it a solicitation, Lewis?
Yeah, right now. This month.
I don't know if it's my cover though. I think mine.
I have not seen your cover. It is not.
I'm trying to find my phone so I can write it down, man.
It'd probably be from 2 and onward, but right now the only thing you can order right now is Good Luck #1.
Right, I did 7 Soldiers as well. One for 7 Soldiers. So I've done. Let's see, Berserker, 7 Soldiers, Good Luck.
But you did one for Something's Killing the Children.
Something's Killing the Children. I just finished that like 3 days ago. So
cool.
I actually want to see.
I think I've done like 6 or 7 covers already, so I've got like another 5 or 6 left, something like that. So it's like, okay, cool. Okay, I think it's 12 covers or something. So I'm halfway through. It's like,
I actually want to see your take on Something's Killing the Children. I don't think
you've done. It's pretty cool, man.
You didn't do an exclusive for Something's Killing the Children before, right?
I wanted to, but I'm like, hey, I really want to do one for Something That's Killing the Children. They're like, okay, cool. We'll set it up.
All those covers are definitely all really trippy, and nothing really lines up with anything. And it's just more like a color palette that just looks really great together.
Yeah, hopefully. Well, when you see mine, hopefully you guys will like it. You're like,
I would actually like. Yeah, I would want to see your cover on it, like
It
dark
looks pretty
colors.
cool. Yeah.
Because I don't think I've seen you do any dark colors, like really kind of.
Well,
like-
like Berserker is kind of dark, kind of moody-ish, but yeah, like
They use a lot of vibrant color in it too. So
well, it's red reds and green greens for like something is
Right.
in children is very. So when we talk about unique books, that book is very mood heavy. When I talk about
Mhm.
mood, like that's the color palette is very moody. So it's kind of muted, and
Right.
the reds pop, boom,
Right.
you know. So it's cool. It's really well done.
And again, this is something that didn't tell you where it's gonna land, like what issue it's gonna land, though, right?
No, usually they just say, "You want to do this cover? Here it is." I'm like, "Yeah, sign me up. I'm down. I will do it." So
Man, I want to.
my Eve one, I'm looking forward to jumping on. I've got one for a book coming up.
let's hope it's not some random secret variant that everybody loves to do now.
Oh yeah, the secret variant thing. Oh, that is crazy.
By the
Secret
way,
variant.
there is a secret variant for one comic that Boom is doing, an 8th printing of, I forgot which book, but you, for every 5 Berserker #2 you order, you get
Oh,
one
that's it.
free.
Something. Yeah, something is killing the
Yeah,
children.
something's for the children.
That was like,
Yeah.
I missed it.
But that's a
Something's-
number one. But you can buy that online for about $30 to $50. So
Yeah, Lord, there you go.
I missed it.
you know,
was
Tim,
like
just have Tim order you one. Like just
Yeah,
have
I'll
him
order
order your stuff.
no, it's $80, man.
Yeah.
For one.
Yeah.
I missed it.
So,
I missed it.
But yeah, no, it was great talking to you again, sir. I mean, like it's always a pleasure talking to you again.
Yeah,
Some
ditto,
insight
ditto,
as
man.
well, some clarity too as well. You know, especially when you hear it directly from an artist too as well, and their point of view on
Yeah.
like how all these things are happening. Because like for the most part, me and Lewis are pretty much just going through news and what's being delivered, and we're
Mhm.
just somewhat speculating on it. Where if you have an artist perspective on what's happening, that is actually more of an insight of like
right.
clear understanding on what's
Right.
actually happening,
Well,
right?
well, the discussion is kind of all over the place with artists, and I think my opinions are my own. I don't speak for any publisher or anybody else, and I just want to make sure, like, like there shouldn't be a lot of anger levied at the publishers, like Marvel or DC. This is a lot bigger than them. It's more the corporate owners who are going to weigh in and decide. It's so it's such a new thing. They're trying to feel it out and figure it out. I think just as artists, the only thing we need to fight for, if there is a fight, is just say, original art should be considered anything used for print or print consumption. So anything that goes to press and goes out to people in the masses, whether it's in a physical product or online, should be considered original art. I mean, it's pretty simple because there are attainable rights that come with that when you have that definition. So
Right.
for that definition, like, or just let's have the discussion what that should be the definition. I don't want anything to be a fight. Like, it's just the comics right now are being stretched, and they're in this really weird point where it's just like, they need to scale with so many things. They need to scale with digital, and digital means NFTs and all this other stuff. And these are things now that, because they didn't do it in the past, that other people now are making that decision for them. It's out of their hands. So it's like, well, how is this going to end up, or where is this going to settle at? We just don't know. So
Exactly.
Yep.
Again, it's been a pleasure having you in the show,
yeah,
sir.
thanks for having me, guys. Great discussion.
This time around, we have a lot more followers, so there's going to be a lot more viewership on this too as well.
Right.
Thank you for a little bit of insight on like your new work coming into as
Oh,
well,
thanks. Yeah.
variant covers and whatnot. Definitely looking forward to that. Something's killing the children. I actually want to see where that's going
I
to
hope
land.
people like it. So I'll be like,
And keep tuned somewhere
I mean,
between
if
October and
one of-
November for
Yeah.
Princess Dragon Killer.
If
Yeah,
one
on
if one out
Kickstarter,
of
maybe.
if Berserker is a little bit indication on like how your variants are turning out, I'm pretty sure they're gonna put that as like a 1 out of 50 or 1 out of 100.
I hope not. I hope they spread it out from other artists, because I don't want it to be a while like, oh, this is Mr. Exclusive now.
Or for every 10 you order, his is going to be randomly shipped out to you.
If that really
And then-
happens,
oh,
if
God,
if that
here we go again.
happens and you're always at the scale variant, you are going to be like Mr. Exclusive now. That's gonna be your new name.
I would like that. I don't think they're going to do that, and I hope they don't do that, because there's so many talented artists out there that probably do amazing, more cooler covers than I do. I think it'd just be nice to everybody who's doing exclusive covers for Boom should share on that type of thing where they get their cover being used for something awesome. That way,
Right.
when they get their comps in, then they can turn around, they could sell that or do a charity thing or whatever. Because that's always kind of a nice, hey, this is a nice thing to have. Like, oh, cool, I can
Exactly.
pay my rent and I don't have to sweat it for a couple months. I can plug it into my creator-owned book. Like, it's those things, and.
But so far, they've been pretty good on not only just like 1 in 10s, and that's the only scale. Like they're also do like 1 in 25s, 1 in 50s. There's 2 1 in 25s.
Yep.
There's ton. Boom makes sure that if we're gonna scale, a lot of people are gonna join in that scaling.
Yeah. They understand the collector's market very, very well, which is good.
Definitely.
Definitely.
That's definitely true. We would pitch you again if there's any development on our creator own, but there's no development. It's still the same.
Gotta keep working on it, man. Which is good. You know so many artists. I mean, I'll do a cover for you.
Like nothing has happened yet. So that's another day. But Louis, do you have any last words for our viewers and also listeners on Spotify?
Okay. I am very tired. I have not slept 8 hours in the last 7 days.
So he's been working a lot.
Sir, how about where he's chained to the desk and something was.
I'm not allowed to leave. I'm contractually obligated to stay here.
He's not leaving. He's not leaving. Sir, what about you, sir? Do you have anything that we should definitely look forward to, like say in the next month or so? Nothing?
For me?
Yes.
Oh, yeah, I'm doing covers for Boom. I've got a Batman 108 cover coming out first week of April. You can order from my online store or from the D616 Comics. That's about it.
That's about it.
Well,
thank you for everyone who have stayed with us, as well as everybody who's going to be watching this, because most of our viewership watched it later. So, and then everyone like for
99.999% of you watch it later.
Pretty much. And then again, you guys can listen to this on Spotify. It's going to be on Monday, tomorrow morning. If you guys have any questions, definitely ask us. Follow Jonboy at CGC, Instagram too as well. He's there. He's always updating his Instagram, so follow him there. Louis does not have any social. Follow us on.
You'll never find me.
Promotion.
For those who find me, I will reward you with nothing.
Next time we do this, let me know. Maybe I can send you some prints or some comics. We can do a giveaway for viewers.
This man has been trying to make me make a fake. Well, it was my idea originally, but he loved it. I was gonna make a random fake social media account, which every episode I was going to give out random clues, and whoever finds me gets the award. There's a prize in the rainbow.
It'd be sick if Jonboy actually gives away like an original art. So there you go. If they find
if that's the case, no. I would make it so much harder. I would make it so hard to find me.
I stopped selling original art like almost a year ago. So
that makes it even more rare. So now I have to full on conspiracy theory board behind me.
That's right.
But yeah, so until then, we will see you guys next week. Peace out, everybody.
Take care.